It's hard for me to, and I've had a chance to look at, it's hard for me to understand why it was ruled the way it was ruled. And if it is ruled that way, then why wasn't it slowed down? Just to make sure that we have this right. That would have made a lot of sense to me, to make sure that we have this thing right, because that's a pivotal play in the game. We have the ball at the 20, maybe kicking a game-winning field goal right there. So I'll just leave it at that. Right. But I'm saying it because I'm standing up for Buffalo, damn it. I'm standing up for us.
Right on. I'm standing up for the people, too, on MLK Day. All right? Right on, my people. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode on this historic day of The Real Lil Show. I'm your boy, The Real Lil. Okay, and it's going down here on the Can You Dig Sports Radio Network. We are live right here on the YouTube channel and on Facebook. I got my guy Lee Jones in the building. More power to the people, Lee Jones. How you feeling, man?
What's happening, Lil? And happy Martin Luther King Day to you as well, and all the people out there.
Definitely. I'm happy to have you on. Obviously, Buffalo, he wrote Buffalo. Buffalo didn't write back, right, Geno Smith? Okay, they fired this man today. This guy's on the unemployment line. All right, Sean McDermott, how about you come here on the show, on the Real Lil Show, give you something to do while you wait for the new job, all right? He's gone after a couple seasons, about 9 seasons with the Buffalo Bills, okay? Wow, he's out of here. He got fired this morning. And Lee, we might as well, shall we, get right into the dance?
Let's do it.
Because was he the scapegoat for Josh Allen's struggles against the Broncos? The mic is yours.
Yeah, you know, with all of the scrutiny that has went on this week about quarterbacking, CJ Stroud, I know we'll get into that a little later. Caleb Williams and all his great antics. Looking at Josh Allen's game Saturday, 4 turnovers, him being the reason really why the Bills didn't win the game, really, if you want to say, and the mainstream media not really wanting to really jump into that, Leo. I think after the loss and after taking the team to 8 playoff appearances out of 9 seasons, but just an 8-8 record, I think they're saying that Sean McDermott can't get the team over the hump. Look, McDermott was hired in Buffalo because he was a defensive guru. They've been giving up 30 points in the playoffs routinely, and even before that. So the part of where McDermott was supposed to be special, the defense, it just wasn't materializing. But certainly on this past weekend, this was a Josh Allen thing. This was a Josh Allen not performing up to a standard that he had set for each other. Look at how the playoffs was set up for him. He should and could have reached the Super Bowl this year. And so, yeah, this is knee-jerk. This is fast reaction. This is not painting a picture on where it's been. I guess, you know, you cry through tears, Leo, and I think everything is okay. But yeah, this is McDermott out of there, a guy that's 98-50 as your head coach, right? 2 AFC championship game appearances. So yeah, I think this is what it is. And so we're scapegoating it, and McDermott is out. Now, McDermott has to take some of the blame. Look, you're a defensive guy. And if your defense is not holding up their end of the bargain, then that's on you. Final thing I'll say before I turn it back over to you, Brandon Beane also, with the personnel moves that Buffalo has had or lack thereof, you let Stephon Diggs get out the door. You haven't upgraded the receiver position, right? You can't stop the run. So these are things that is a broader organizational deficiency. But yeah, McDermott was a scapegoat.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I got a lot of daggone flyers and pictures and whatnot that should be up here right now. But, you know, the program want to act stupid. This is what happens when you're a one-man show. But it is what it is. All right. I'm going to throw the middle finger up at technology. All right. Screw you, screw your mama, and screw whoever created you. All right. Because I'm not happy right now. I need my flyers jumping. I want to make everything look immersive. But you want to take it personal because you don't like what I'm about to say. Well, guess what? I'm about to say it. Anyway, when we talk about Mr. Sean McDermott, okay, Mr. Kermit, should I say Kermit the Frog? Now, let me stop. I'm all over the place right now because I'm upset. But as I slow it down and talk about Sean McDermott and his job, was he the scapegoat? No, he wasn't. Now look, I thought Josh Allen flat out wet the bed. You know, I'll give him that. And Lee, you mentioned something very interesting, and I kind of want to do a detour real quickly before I get back on track, because one of the things that I'm going to talk about throughout this show, especially when we get to the last topic that we have in regards to coaching and whatnot, is that today is MLK Day. And one of the things that goes under the radar about what MLK stood for is the fact that we judge people off of their content of their character. That was not only a black people thing, but it's also a cultural thing. It could be used to describe everybody, because if we did it that way, then half of the issues we do have, we wouldn't have.
I agree.
Okay? It wasn't connections and I know you and, you know, what you call that? What's the word I'm looking for? Nepotism. If it wasn't nepotism and we stood on realism instead of tribalism and whatnot, then hey, we would be further as a country, regardless either way. Because whether it's DI or DEI, whatever, what we want is, you know, your record shows what your record shows. I think that could be applied to quarterbacking, coaching, and whatnot. The reality is there's a lot of people that's going to get on the mainstream media and defend Josh Allen, despite Josh Allen having 4 turnovers. The same way a lot of people, or more directly, Ryan Clark, can sit up there at halftime when CJ Stroud is looking like the worst quarterback of all time and defend that man. Okay? Either way, what we have to do is call out people who need to be called out. CJ Stroud, Josh Allen, whoever it was, we call them out if they didn't show up. And the reality is Josh Allen did not show up. He had 4 turnovers. There was 1 turnover right before halftime that was unexplicable, that literally spotted the Broncos 3 points to go up at halftime. Okay? Again, I expected more from Josh Allen. Now, as we get to Sean McDermott, he had 9 tries with a quarterback that is in his prime. Lee, I'm not sure if you agree, but I think when you have a quarterback, a superstar quarterback, your leash should be shorter, okay? Because you have an MVP caliber quarterback who won a an MVP. Now, when you look at the NBA, and look, I don't want the NFL to become the NBA. I don't, right? When you get in a culture of guys winning the championship and then 6 months later, you're firing them. I still feel that as a believer of, hand over the controller, right? Like, Lee, was you a video game person? You was a video game guy, right? Not really? Maybe?
Not really.
Well, I was, right? And I used to go to my grandmother's house, and it would be me and my brothers and my cousin. And we used to get on the controller. Guess what? There's only 2 controllers, and there's 8 of us that want to get on the controllers. Once you lose, if we playing Madden, if you lose, guess what? Hand the controller. I got to get on there. Give me that controller. Your time is up. You lost. So in this case, when you have multiple opportunities to get over the hump and you don't get over the hump, hand over the job. You're done. And look, I think the Bills should have fired the GM Brandon Beane as well.
Yep.
The fact that this guy got a raise makes me question the direction that this franchise wants to go in. But Sean McDermott, his defensive lapses and whatnot, choking the 13 seconds. We remember that 13 seconds. He should have been fired theoretically right after that. That was a fireable offense. It's 13 seconds. You decide to do a kickoff when you could have did a script kick. You decide to play prevent defense and allow the Chiefs to get it to field goal range. To be honest with you, he should have been fired right after that. The mic is yours.
Yeah, I know. I don't disagree with what you're saying. I don't. I like the analysis of the controller as well, because you're right. I mean, he had 9 seasons to get there. But you tell me that McDermott is gone and Beane is still there. Like I said, Beane is the one that's picking the players. Beane is the one that's not re-signing the players. Now, in saying that, Josh Allen has to take some of the blame as well. He the one that fell out with Stephon Diggs and wanted Diggs moved. He was in on that, Leo. And so the roosters all come home to nest at some point when you say, okay, be careful what you ask for. When you're trying to tailor a team tailor a team, and goes to McDermott and this goes to Bean, when you're trying to tailor a team to fit a player and not want to make him uncomfortable or not want him to show his leadership skills, because look, I'm sure that Troy Aikman, even though Michael Irvin respected Troy Aikman, he had to deal with Michael Irvin as a diva. Joe Montana with Jerry Rice. Terrell Owens, you have to deal with a diva receiver. Could you imagine if they had Stephon Diggs on that team, what they could have done? So everybody plays a part in it, but you're absolutely right. McDermott had 9 years. Harbaugh had 18 years. Tomlin had 19 years. And now when you look at professional football, it's about what have you done for me? Because you're seeing all of these coaches. Mike Vrabel turned New England around in 1 year, and they are possibly going to the Super Bowl. Look at what Mike McDonald has done in 2 years. So you can't say that it can't be done in a short period of time. So you're absolutely right. Do I think they fired him as a knee-jerk reaction to the loss? Absolutely. He was the first one to go instead of really honing in on Josh Allen's performance and what are the needs of the Buffalo Bills.
Here we go. Finally. Okay. You had me working hard. Okay, you try to get these clips up. All right, here we are. Look at Sean McDermott. Okay, now we back on track. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming home. Okay, we are coming home. And guess who's coming home too? Sean McDermott. Anyway, the Broncos hadn't scored 20 points or more in a game since mid-December. And yet they was able to put up 33 on their defense. Okay, now veteran pass rusher Joey Bosa, who was brought in to stop Mahomes, couldn't even stop Bo Nix, or could he even stop Trevor Lawrence? In back-to-back weeks, he was a no-show, 0 sacks on Bo Nix in this game. Sean McDermott is responsible for the team. Obviously, he was the head coach, but more directly, his X's and O's are defensively. And defensively, when it was time for this team to make a play in the stretch, they did not make the play. Okay, if you look at last year against the Chiefs offense was not by any of the means scary. Okay. And yet they could not stop the Chiefs offense. They went possession after possession, couldn't even stop them. Yet a week or 2 weeks later, they get destroyed in the Super Bowl. So we know that their offense was not a juggernaut. He didn't make the adjustments in that game. I believe Benford went out. The backup for Benford played the whole entire game, was getting cooked one-on-one. Didn't make the adjustment, right? Didn't help him out, add another guy to, help him out. None of that. The 13 seconds, obviously. I keep going back to that. That gives me nightmares. I'm not even a Bills fan. 13 seconds debacle, right? Just even in this game, I thought the second half of the game, the defense settled down a little bit. They did get some stops on Bo Nix. They were helped by the conservative play calling of Sean Payton in the second half of the game. But again, when it came down to, I need one play to get us over the hump defensively, it never came. That's like me waiting for Santa Claus to come by. It's not going to happen, bro. Okay. And to me, because of that, he got to go. And he's not a bad coach. I'm not going to sit here and call him a bad head coach. But at the end of it all, you got to shake something up. And I think by firing him, again, I think the GM should have been out, because a lot of this is roster construction. To me,
I agree with that.
A lot of people saying this was the year that the Bills should have came out. And theoretically, I can see that being the case, despite them having a flawed roster or the worst roster in the Josh Allen era. I can see the argument there, because guess what? Bo Nix is out, right? So they lost their guy. Obviously, that wouldn't have mattered because they played the Broncos, right? So you win that game. But now, you play the Patriots. They're still young. I don't think their offense has looked that great. So again, they very well could have came out of the conference, and even if they lost the Super Bowl, nobody's really tripping if they got this far. And you could argue on the flip side, if Sean McDermott was a first-year coach, this would have been an amazing coaching job based off of the roster and how flawed the roster was. But unfortunately, he wasn't a first-year coach. He was a coach that coached his team for 9 years and no Super Bowls. To me, he had to go.
Yeah. Last point I want to make before we move on, Lael, is this. The last 3 playoff games, and I want the audience to hear it so that everybody understands this. The last 3 playoff games, what you want to do, you want to be able to have the football driving or in your best player's hands, supposedly, which is Josh Allen, the best player on your team with a chance to win the game. The last 3 playoff games that the Bills have been in, Josh Allen has had the football with a chance to drive his team down the field and win the game. He came up short all 3 years in a row. You can blame it on, we can say this, and McDermott, hey, he's a coach. So some action was going to happen. That's the first thing we're going to get rid of the coach. But when people are not looking at the particulars, because when Lamar does it, we point it out, we shine a bright light on Lamar. 3 times in a row, you've had the ball, winning drive coming up, you didn't seal the deal. That tells you what you need to know about the Bills and the Josh Allen situation and why they didn't want to put the shine on him because he's a franchise player, so McDermott had to go.
And before we move on, last point, again, content of the character, I agree with you. Content of the character, in the words of MLK, okay, and in this case, in the National Football League, results-oriented, right? Josh Allen had a golden opportunity to end the game and win the game. Dawson Knox was wide open.
Yep.
He missed that, though. To be honest with you, Lee Jones, I'm going to keep it real with you, okay? I don't even care about this play that we're looking at, okay, that everybody's going to flock to. The fact that Sean McDermott could get up there and blame the referees for that. I mean, to me, I'm not sure where you stand on that. To me, that's an interception. But, you know, either here or there, whether you think it's a catch or interception, to me, that's beyond the point. They had a golden opportunity to win the game. They didn't win. If anybody should be able to overcome these, if they feel it was a wrong call, overcome that, it should be Buffalo. Because truth be told, I am one of those conspiracy guys that believe that when the Chiefs were hot and they were the dynasty, they got calls. Okay? I'm one of those conspiracy theories. And I do believe that they got calls against the Bills last year. You know, certain spots, you know, when Josh Allen went for the quarterback sneak, I thought the referee moved it back a little bit, gave him an unfavorable spot. But again, that's where the experience come into play, where you play above the whistle. You play above the calls that don't get your way, don't go your way. And I don't think the Buffalo Bills did that. Mindless to say, I don't believe that these were bad calls on top of that. So, again, I'm not going to sit here and fix my mouth to come on this show and blame the referees for why the Bills lost, when in all actuality, their quarterback, who was the former MVP, had 4 turnovers and could have won the game.
Absolutely. No, well said. Well said. I'll leave it at that. Well said. By the way, I'll say on this catch, if we were playing out in the backyard, Lil, and we did that, it's a completion. By NFL rules, it's an interception. That's all I need to know right there.
Sports, politics, conspiracy theories. We are here to give you our unique perspectives on things happening in the world. It's the one and only, The Real Lil on The Real Lil Show.